What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is HUD0, the old school gamer, and of course, I had on Xbox here today, talking about retro gaming. Yeah, hi, you doing? Wow, man, what a good time to be a gamer, isn't it? There's so much good stuff that's coming out. Man, finishing my session with Ninja Turtles and man, I mean, just nostalgia. I have never been so invigorated in gaming in my entire life. First of all, going back to when Streets of Rage 4 came, and I loved it to death. Having Yuzo Koshiro and of course, a few other artists come up with the soundtrack and the beautiful artwork, and of course having Axel and Blaze and Adam, and of course retro guy, and having all the DLC. Then the fast forward to to now, when the announcement of Ninja Turtles getting a revival, and they're having a Cowabunga collection that's coming up soon. It brings a tear to my eye. Just seeing all these wonderful, awesome, amazing, fantastic retro games. And listen, I am an old school gamer. I always have been. I always will be. I have been bred in the arcade era. I've been when the arcade machines were king, and PCs were pretty much in, it was more of a geekdom than it is now. This is way before they actually had, all these, these super cards and all that stuff. Where arcades were pretty much the gods of the pixel, and this is things that people don't understand. Well, maybe you do, but I think that we have gotten to an era where video games have come full circle. So let's dive into it, shall we? Let's start with some nostalgia. I feel like we, the days of going back to the pizzeria and going to the arcade, having a pizza slice, and going at it in games like Contra, and going at in games like Double Dragon, and Outrun, and Altered Beast, and Space Harrier, and these amazing quarter muncher games. These games that that you spend whatever amount of time that you have, and just popping in another quarter to continue. Games like Alien Syndrome. These games are still relevant today, and believe it or not, all these games are all these games are so important to the growth of gaming, and which is why I actually wanted to get into this topic. So once again, welcome to Gamers Play, and I would love you if you would actually stand tall, stick out your wonderful little finger, and hit that like button, and also subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more of my awesome antics dealing with retro gaming, new gaming, and of course, if you want to see some of my sessions of my gaming awesomeness, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Just please, just do it. Don't worry, your finger's not gonna be broken. You can be able to play any of your games as soon as you get that done. But back to what I'm talking about. I feel that some people appreciate, a lot of people appreciate the retro gaming now more than ever than before, because some people were or some gamers, were kind of shunning it because oh, we want, new stuff. We want, games have to be have to have gore, and has to be mature. But some gamers just want to, have some mindless fun. Mashing the A button. A simplistic jump button. Maybe have a session that's good for like about 10 to 15 minutes or an hour. It depends on what you're playing. But you know, getting into why these games right now are starting to come back is because, believe it or not, a lot of us hardcore gamers who grew up on this stuff, we're the ones that jump on, these kind of games, because and we get to discuss it, and we actually get to talk about a lot of these great games that we have played, and a lot of these games that have driven the industry as great as it did right now. I mean, let's go back. Let's go back to the days of old. Let's go back to the days of Atari, where Atari was, like literally 1 to 2-bit graphics, and it was just blocks, and we actually appreciated the hell out of it. It wasn't arcade, but it was close to what we actually have played in the arcade. We were like, oh yeah, Asteroids and Centipede and all that stuff. Yeah, it wasn't arcade perfect, but we appreciated it because it was an effort to play something that's close to our arcade counterpart. Games like Breakout, games like Pole Position, and so on. And of course, games like Time Pilot and all that has not reared its head until Nintendo came around. Even ColecoVision was a step up. We're talking about like 3 or 4-bit, I think, graphics. The graphics were a little bit more improved. You get games like Turbo and what else? And Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Jr. You're looking at all these amazing games that have driven the industry, and now with the return, well, I would say the birth of Arcade 1-Up. Now you're starting to see that these retro games are so pivotal to the growth of the industry. Even though, don't get me wrong, I feel like new games are fantastic. But believe it or not, a lot of these new games have been driven from a lot of these old classic games that we have played. Look at these twin stick shooters. Now when you look at games like let's get some retro games in there. Games like Loaded for the PlayStation, where it's a top-down, shooter, yeah, even though it added gore. But you think of games like Smash TV that kind of has driven that type of thing, and also Total Carnage, which was its sequel. My suggestion is, if you actually get an opportunity, you want to play those games in its arcade glory, I would suggest to download the Midway Arcade Collection. It's actually available, backwards compatible on Xbox, and also I believe it's still available on PlayStation, the PlayStation Network. So jump on that, play it, and relive like Spy Hunter and games like Vindicators and Xenophobe. Great, amazing games. Yeah, granted, some of these games are some of games these games are cheap. That means they're relatively hard for no reason. But man, I mean these games have a place in the gaming world. So let's dive in further into a few of notable mentions of let's talk about Konami. Um, now I believe that a lot of Konami fans out there, or you can some of them are stands, so Konami stands out there. Konami, they began with games like Metal Gear Solid, and still an amazing game. Hideo Kojima is an amazing developer. He has the most far out ideas and movie like quality type of games that drive the narrative in such weird places, but it's so awesome to see. With the games like Death Stranding, and of course, the new game that's going to be coming out. Who knows when it's going to be coming out? And then of course PT, which was actually like almost like a demo, but it was amazing. And those who still have PT on their PlayStation, PlayStation 4, congrats. Because once you actually update your system, the game is gone forever. So luckily for you, if you did keep it, it's still something that one of Hideo Kojima's best. Then of course you look into other games that Konami has made. Of course you talk about Contra. You talk about Contra 3. Contra 3, the Alien Wars was right there at the pinnacle of the Super Nintendo's utilization of the Mode 7 graphics. I mean, the speed, the slowdown has gotten better. They actually were able to, the developers were able to harness the Mode 7. Look into Metroid, Super Metroid. They actually utilized the Mode 7 in such amazing ways. And if you actually got an opportunity to finish it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already seen, but the ending was one of the best endings I've seen in such a type of game. Then let's look into other games like retro games, that came out, that made from Konami, that with certain licenses like GI Joe and X-Men. I mean, when you look at games like that, and Ninja Turtles, which just came out recently, Konami has really pushed the industry forward in great ways. But of course, as you know, they actually lost their way. I'm hoping that they start to understand that I think they are starting to understand that that these type of games, the games that we remember, like Castlevania, Contra, let's come up with some other titles. Castlevania and Contra, those are like some of the Metal Gear. A few other great games from Gradius. What about Gradius? I mean, Gradius they haven't made another title since Gradius 5. I think Gradius 5 was the last shoot 'em up side scroller. Very hard, by the way. One hit death, lose everything. I think it was Life Force or Salamander was the game that was more forgiving, where you actually, when you die, you don't start all the way from the beginning or mid stage without any weapons. You actually get an opportunity to get your orbs and and build up again. Um, and and of course, they had some shooters out there too. Light gun games, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about too. But I'll get into that later in the video. Um, light gun games. And recently the other releases like the Sega with the House of the Dead remake. Oh my gosh. They actually released it to other consoles, but the best way to play it, I mean, I'm sorry, but the best way to play it is actually on the Switch. Because you can actually use the pad, use the little Joy Cons, as guns. Um, that's it's I'm sad. It's sad to see that when they bring a game like that, like the House of the Dead, to games like Xbox, and and not having the ability to use any type of light gun peripheral, it almost defeats the purpose. To bring such a game like that, because if you're using that, but you can use your mouse and keyboard though. You can use your mouse, but it's not the same. I should like to be able to aim at the screen. I mean, instead of using a mouse. It reminds me of the days of actually downloading MAME, and you download games like Terminator, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and had to use a mouse to actually get the accuracy right, or Revolution X, which is another great game with Aerosmith. You gotta think, that certain games work better in certain ways. And I feel that a few of the developers out there, I mean, like Microsoft, I mean, definitely should really start to look into getting games, that actually has a peripheral that is useful. It does that make sense? Because I mean, look, you remember games like Dance Dance Revolution? I remember when I actually gotten that for the PlayStation. I think it was the PlayStation 2. I got it for the PlayStation 2, and then I actually had, you could be able to bounce, back and forth and stuff like that, and jump on there. That was great. I mean, think about that. And then of course there's also games like what else? And then going into the like the Connect era, or I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but peripherals, that matter. Then of course you had the with the PlayStation with the what was it called, the motion sticks, what do you call it again? Those were awesome too. I mean, even though it did look a little weird, but it worked. But the thing is that they didn't utilize it enough. There were so many great games that had so much potential. The light gun era, it shouldn't have died as abruptly. As they should have learned about the technology, because a lot of these light gun games don't work on LCD or LED screens. Unless it has a certain sensor bar to so it actually can have some certain accuracy. The old joystick, like the NES light gun, for games like Duck Hunt and I think it was Gyromite. I'm sorry. And Logan. I'm sorry, Hogan's Alley. Oh man, I missed that game. That game was amazing. And then the Master System with the Blazing. I think it was Blazing? No, it was called Laser Invasion. And I forgot what it was. It was a skeet shooter. Right inside the chat if you actually remember, what it's called. I forgot what it's called. But the like in games, do have a place in retro gaming as well. Um, Now, Arcade One Up is starting to bring like in games. They started with Big Game Hunter. Um, I mean, I actually got an opportunity to try it, and I want it. If I had enough room, I could be able to, put it in my apartment and play it. I mean, it's still no, it's still pretty awesome. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, they finally made a arcade one up port of that particular liking game. Um, it's and there's still a few others. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're trying to get Revolution X. I'm hoping they do because I think the license with Aerosmith is actually what's is the drawback. Um, and of course, Beastbusters. Oh, that's the game from Konami. Beastbusters. Oh my gosh, there's another guy. And was it Konami that did that? Beastbusters. I think it was Beast. I think it was Konami. Um, and I think SNK actually had a few like in games as well. Come on, I mean, there are like LA Gunners. That was and of course, I think it was New York Gunblade. I think it was called. Oh man, there's so many. And I'm hoping they actually get an arcade version of get Starblade. Oh, now who remembers Starblade? That came out for it was by Namco. It came out for the PlayStation. I think it was a PlayStation 2. They made thinking about Starblade. I think Starblade was for the PlayStation 2, and I think it was for the 3DO. I think the 3DO actually had that game too. Another, fantastic addition to gaming. You know, gosh, but anyway, I know I'm rambling on, but right behind me, we're talking about games. Talk about like classic games. Look at this one right here, RoboCop. I remember when I played this game in the arcade. It was hard as heck, but it was amazing, and it's fun. Drop it, you know. And some of the sound bites from the movies. It's uh, when it boils down to, let me catch bearings here because there are like thousands upon thousands of arcade games that are in danger of completely disappearing off the face of the planet. Now, I know what a lot of people are saying. Oh, but you could just download MAME. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is that a lot of people don't really want to spend the time to download emulators on their PC. Who would like to be able to at least have the option to play these on the go or via a collection, so you can be able to play these games and and actually enjoy yourself on your console, on your TV, you know. And I mean, and of course, in arcade retro, perfect. I mean, in that like a one-to-one translation to the game. I remember, if I remember correctly, Arcade One Up did have some issues with certain licensing. Like for instance, for NBA Jam, certain players were not able to get translated or into the game, is because well, it has something to do with the licensing, of course. And then of course they made a Shaq edition where they actually added Shaq. And of course Ninja Turtles, the first one that actually the first compilation one where they actually had Ninja Turtles, and it had the nostalgic posting on the left and the right side of the arcade machine itself. They had to get the licensing for that, but they weren't able to get the license for the actual soundtrack. And I noticed a lot of people were trying to get in touch with uh oh my uh what was his name? Oh man, now see I completely blanked. Oh, was it oh my goodness gracious! Now I have a very I cannot believe it. I was just talking about him just earlier. Man, how did I forget that name? Jeez. Oh man, this hurts my feelings. All right. Well, as I look it up, um, let's talk about backwards compatibility, um, and how important backwards compatibility actually is. Um, and retro and what is it boils down to the same thing: retro gaming. Retro gaming needs to survive. I'm pretty sure there are a lot more people. I mean, they're not the vocal minority. There's a lot of people out there who are curious about a lot of these amazing games that came out like way back in the day. I mean, we're talking about the days of the classics like Bubble Bobble and let's see, Paperboy. And I still haven't seen another port of Paperboy. I'm surprised that no compilation has come out with the game with the Paperboy. Paperboy, what an amazing, fun game, and I know how hard it is to get the peripheral, but I was hoping that Arcade One Up would actually get the license to be able to bring Paperboy with the bike handles and all for to the masses. And I would buy that day one. There are so many amazing games that influence a lot of the games today. Games like Ninja Gaiden. The Ninja Gaiden influenced games like Sekiro or Neo, and a few other games. Uh, and fighters. When you look at fighters, the side scrollers, Street Fighter, that bred like a huge selection. I mean, look at Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct, if there was no Street Fighter, I guarantee you, if there was no Street Fighter, there wouldn't be no Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat would have never existed. I mean, Midway took a risk, using digitized models and created a 2D masterpiece called Mortal Kombat. Even though it was very risky because of how violent it is, it was a worldwide phenomenon. And and then of course with Mortal Kombat it spawned Killer Instinct. And then of course let's not forget Interplay decided to make their own spin of a fighting game called Clay Fighters. Now, let's talk about Clay Fighters. I mean, this will blow your mind. Clay Fighters was a drop in a bucket type of game where the masterminds, created the claymation effects for the Super Nintendo, okay, which was a pretty powerful 16-bit console. They created games like Clay Fighter with what's a Blue Suede Goo and Helga and of course Bad Mr. Frosty. I mean, these type of games are so, man, it's there are, these are the pillars of the gaming universe, that that feeds and draws on us. I mean, I have a whole entire library in my head of a lot of games that I've actually played, and shout out to Mr. Boomstick XL. He remembers back in Yonkers, right off of Central Avenue, in Yonkers, a place called Nathan's, and there was a place called I think it was called Entertainment of something Entertainment. I forgot what it was. It was a company that that had built its arcade in the vicinity. The arcade was decent. It was big. It wasn't huge. It was big, and that's where a lot of the nostalgic, gaming came from. I mean, Double Dragon 2, Miss Pac Man, Space Harrier. Then of course some obscure ones like Street Fighter with the big gigantic buttons, and Alien Syndrome, Altered Beast, and Golden Axe. Um, Tiger Heli, and uh, what else? Thunderblade. Oh my gosh, Thunderblade, Afterburner 2. These. Afterburner 2. I guarantee you, Afterburner 2 actually spawned the game that you know best as Ace Combat. I mean, listen, one hand feeds the other. And of course, a lot of these retro games retro indie games, got a lot of inspiration from a lot of 8-bit games that we know of, like Dragon Quest, and what else? And Legend of Zelda, um, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, which is which was a side scroll, had a top down map, and when you actually hit an enemy, you can actually get into a side scrolling battle. Um, Extremely hard, by the way. Oh, I mean, I can vouch for that. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's a very huge topic, and I'm telling you, man, everyone has to get an opportunity. I mean, you have to get an opportunity to um, go to your local shop, or find a way to go to a retro shop, pick yourself up a Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. Um, there's a lot of great Neo Geo games that you can actually get right now. That those are other classics as well. Um, but I know that I'm rambling on and everything, but let me just close by getting some clarity. Um, growing up, when I was younger, video games, were almost my scapegoat. It was my passion. I loved video gaming, pretty much all my life. Every opportunity I actually had. The first game that I ever played in the arcade was Time Pilot. Time Pilot was actually the very first video game that I really got sunk my teeth into. It's a video gaming, and it actually it brings back some very very strong memories, because when I was going through a lot of hard times, I used to just dive into a video game and just lose myself. I mean, just just to get the opportunity, because and even though I was a silly kid, the outside world is cruel, man. It's really cruel. It really you know it digs into you, and I noticed that a lot of people out there, probably confused, and probably going through some hurt, and the only way to stop that pain, sometimes is to make fun of others. And I don't think it's a good idea, or to indulge in such silly, petty nonsense out there. And I believe that video games will save the world. Um, and I know that a lot of people out there are trying to take that away, or attempting to try to take that away, um, because they feel like that we are losing control. But the problem is that the control was always ours. You know, to put it in context, you know, controller, man. This right here. This is my idea of control. You know, and I feel like when you play any type of games, you actually are in control. You are in control because you are indulging and loving it, and you actually want to give them get the opportunity to reach that final level, actually accomplish something. And I feel that we can accomplish something, one game at a time. So I know this has actually gone longer than I really wanted to, and I probably lost you about 20 minutes ago. Um, but with the release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and the upcoming games like the Cowabunga Collection, which actually has all of the Ninja Turtle games that came out before, the retro ones anyway, like the NES Ninja Turtles, and the Turtles in Time, and the arcade versions, and the NES versions, and the fighting games and Genesis. Oh man, listen, everybody's gonna be in for a heck of a ride the next couple of months. And as we some people who decide to go into any type of console wars, listen, man, it ain't worth it. All you're doing is you're wasting your breath. And I know a lot of people are just sitting right there, and they're like, oh, I want those new exclusives. Hey, dude, there are too many games for you to be fussing, man. There's way too many games out there for you to be fussing. There are thousands upon thousands of games out there, and there's nothing to fuss about. Try something new. Try something that you never tried before. If you say, oh, that's interesting, pop it in, play it. You might be a fan. Heck, you might become a stan. But and if you don't like it, if it's not your cup of tea, then it isn't. But the thing is that you gotta try, and some people will, say tinky winky games, or whatever, and they make fun of certain games. Listen, don't let it deter you from the games that you actually like, man. I like a lot of genres, and this new game, Naraka, Blade. Oh man, let me tell you something. Hey! I'm jumping on that game this weekend. I may or may not be jumping on tonight. I think I will be. You know what? I mean, I think I might go. I might just jump on this game. Listen, jump on this game. This game is amazing. I actually tried demo, and oh, I am hooked. Oh, you could customize your character, customize your costumes, and you can go in the world and wreck house. 60 players, and only one shall stand. So I am looking forward to it. So, anyways, this is HUD Zero, the old school gamer, and of course the Ironheart of Xbox. And remember, there's always a time to game. So game on, babies, game on.